Hi, this is Rick Frederick. I have a question from someone concerning evaluating the negative predictive power of a test with these characteristics. First of all, these are characteristics from one not very large sample. There may be better data about how this test works on a cross-validation. This was an initial validation study. You'll want to look at cross-validations, and we're interested. I'm looking at these scores here for sensitivity of 0.93 across a range of cut scores. Most tests don't really seem to work that way, and so this is kind of an unusual finding, but that's the data that this individual is looking at, and we'll answer the question with these data. Now we're going to use a test validation summary to do this, and the test validation summary will take this information, true positive rate. The true positive rate and sensitivity are the same thing. The specificity is 1 minus the false positive rate. So, and then the information gets entered into the test validation summary, TPR, FPR. So just to avoid making a mistake, we'll put it in this form. And we can get a test validation summary off my website, richardfrederick.com. Go to the section called Files, and then download a test validation summary. And so here's a test validation. This is the one we want. This is the one that will download. And I don't know what values you will have when you open it, but let's just go back and notice these are the values that we want. And so each sheet, Microsoft always wants to know what we're going to do and anticipate it, but it's not what we want to do. Okay, so here we see this was the value for a 7 or higher for this particular test. And what we want to do is we just actually want to make, how many cut scores we have? 8. We want to make eight sheets like this. And it's easy enough just to make a new sheet, move to the end, and continue that. And we'll have one sheet for each cut score until it looks like this. And this sheet has one for 3 or higher. Let's look at our values again. 0.97, 0.40, 4 or higher, 0.93, 0.28. So we'll make those number of sheets until we have one that goes to 10 or higher. And now we want to evaluate the negative predictive power. Now this individual tells me that they're interested in the negative predictive power for low base rates. And I just want you to notice that at low base rates, the negative predictive power is always very high. Now this is the graph of negative predictive power, these little dots here. This is positive predictive power. And this test doesn't have very good positive predictive power for this particular cut score, 4 or higher. But most of the cut scores are going to have excellent negative predictive power at low base rate, because when the base rate is low, the probability is that they don't have the condition, and any test score that's negative is going to confirm that. So the variability between negative predictive power is going to be pretty insubstantial at low base rate. So, but we'll just look. You just follow the dotted line and see if it changes substantially as we go through the cut scores. And it's not until we get to 8 or higher, and now the false positive rate is 11%, that the negative predictive power tends to drop. And it's not hard to make a summary table just to graph against base rate the various values we have for negative predictive power for our 8 cut scores. And so I did that here, and see that the separation really takes place when your cut score is 8 or higher. And at 8 or higher, Um, uh, well, at 8 or higher, I guess what actually dropped was the sensitivity. Dropped substantially. And, you can do this for any series of scores that you have, is just to copy the main page, make the next page, and then all the way. The only difficult part about making the summary is you just want to keep base rate over here in column A, and then make your column B through I, or how many you have for negative predictive power or positive predictive power, whatever you're looking at. And all I did was to put in an equal sign here, and then go to 3 or higher and copy that value. And then once that's there, you just copy that and then come down the page and paste. It'll bring all those values over from the page. And then once you get base rate and against these other columns, then you're just going to grab them all and then insert a scatter plot. Okay. And then all I did over here was make the scatter plot have these dimensions so that we can lay it out. And then these are all your negative predictive powers for your various cut scores for this particular test. And notice that for a low base rate of 10% or less, it doesn't really matter. They're almost always not faking if the base rate or whatever the condition is. They don't have the condition if the base rate is low. And then any cut score that you say, well, on one side it's a positive score, the other side is negative. Whenever you say there's a negative score, it's a very high probability now that a negative score means they don't have the condition. It may be that a positive score means they don't have the condition, but we're just talking about negative predictive power here. Well, I hope that's helpful. If not, let me know, please. Thank you.